The radio telescope array stretched across the Nevada desert like a field of metal flowers reaching toward the stars. Dr. Hyjin Kim stood in the control room, watching the endless stream of data flow across her screens. For 30 years, humanity had been sending messages into space. For 30 years, they had received nothing but silence in return. Hyjin pressed her fingers against her temples and rubbed the tension away. Another night shift, another collection of empty frequencies. Her team had detected clear signs of advanced civilization throughout the galaxy. Massive energy signatures, structured radio bursts, and even what appeared to be faster-than-light communications. Yet every attempt to establish contact had been met with the same cold silence. The door to the control room slid open and Captain Woo Jin Lee walked in carrying 2 cups of coffee. He handed one to Hyjin and settled into the chair beside her. Workstation. Woo Jin had been assigned to the SETI project 3 years ago, when the military began taking the search for extraterrestrial intelligence more seriously. Any luck tonight? Woo Jin asked, sipping his coffee and studying the displays. Hyjin shook her head. Same as always. We can see them out there, but they act like we don't exist. She pointed to a cluster of signals on her main screen. Look. At this, Sector 7 Alpha has been broadcasting on 17 different frequencies for the past 6 hours. Mathematical sequences, prime numbers, even what looks like star charts. It's clearly artificial, clearly intelligent. But when we try to respond on any of those same frequencies, nothing happens. Woo Jin leaned forward to get a better look. Could they just not be receiving our transmissions? That's what we thought for the first 10 years, Hyjin replied. But our broadcast power has increased by a factor of 50 since we started. We're sending signals that should be detectable from halfway across the galaxy. If they can build the kind of technology we're seeing out there, they can definitely hear us. The young woman turned in her chair to face Woo Jin directly. I think, they're ignoring us on purpose. This was not the first time Hyjin had shared this theory, but it still made Woo Jin uncomfortable. The idea that humanity was being deliberately excluded from galactic civilization was difficult to accept. It raised uncomfortable questions about why Earth might be considered unworthy of contact. Maybe they have protocols, Woo Jin suggested, rules about contacting primitive species. Hyjin pulled up another set of data on her screen. That's what I thought too until I cracked this. The display showed a complex pattern of signals that had been repeating for several months. To most observers, it would have looked like random noise. But Hyjin had spent 2 years analyzing the mathematical structure hidden within the transmission. It's a communication protocol, she explained. Not just any protocol, but one specifically designed for first contact situations. They have a system in place for talking to new species, and we've been using it correctly for the past 8 months. Woo Jin stared at the screen in shock. You mean we've been following their first contact procedures and they're still ignoring? Yes, exactly. Hyjin's voice carried a mixture of frustration and anger. We've done everything right. We've demonstrated mathematical knowledge, shown that we understand physics, even transmitted our location and basic information about Earth. According to their own protocols, they should have responded within 90 days of first contact. She turned to another workstation and brought up a star chart. Red dots marked locations where they had detected artificial signals. There were hundreds of them, scattered throughout the local galactic arm. But here's the really interesting part, Hyjin continued. 3 weeks ago, I detected something different, a much more powerful transmission coming from the Vega system. It wasn't using the standard first contact protocols. It was using an advanced encryption method that took me days to break. Woo Jin watched as she displayed the decoded message. It was a meeting agenda. It's a schedule for something called the Galactic Council, Hyjin explained. They're having a meeting, a big one. Representatives from 47 different species are gathering at a station in the Vega system. The meeting started 3 days ago and will continue for another 6 months. Woo Jin read through the agenda items. Trade agreements, territory disputes, resource allocation, defense protocols. It was exactly what you would expect from an interstellar government. They have a whole civilization out there, he said quietly. A real galactic community, and we're not part of it. Hyjin nodded. The meeting happens every 50 Earth years. This is the third one I've been able to detect since we started monitoring galactic communications. Each time Earth is not mentioned. Not once. We're not even listed as a restricted or quarantined system. We simply don't exist in their records. She pulled up one final document that made Wu Jin's blood run cold. It was a star chart showing known intelligent species in the galaxy. Earth's location was marked with a small gray dot labeled Uninhabited System. They know we're here, Hyjin said. They've surveyed our system. They've classified it as empty. Despite 30 years of radio transmissions, despite clear signs of industrial civilization, despite everything we've done to announce our presence, they have officially decided that humanity does not exist. Wu Jin stood up and paced around the small control room. The implications were staggering. Humanity was not just being ignored by galactic civilization, they were being actively excluded from it. We need to tell Admiral Park about this immediately, he said. Admiral Taman Park had been expecting this conversation for months. As head of the Human Defense Initiative, he had watched the SETI project grow, increasingly frustrated with their lack of success. But even he had not expected the truth to be this stark. 2 hours later, Park sat in his office at Peterson Space Force Base, reviewing Hyjin's findings with his senior staff. The evidence was overwhelming. Humanity was alone not because they hadn't found alien life, but because alien life had chosen to exclude them. How long until the Galactic Council meeting ends? Park asked. 5 months and 3 weeks. Hyjin replied, then it will be another 50 years before they meet again. Park nodded slowly. For the past 15 years, he had been overseeing the construction of humanity's first interstellar fleet. Originally intended as an exploration force, the project had grown into something much larger as it became clear that first contact might not be peaceful. 5 months, he repeated. That gives us just enough time. He turned to his communications. Officer Lieutenant Yunji Song, send a message to all fleet construction facilities. Priority Alpha authorization. I want every ship combat ready within 4 months. Yunji looked confused. Sir, are we expecting an attack? Park smiled grimly. No, Lieutenant. We're going to make a house call. The Admiral stood and walked to the large window overlooking the sprawling military complex. In the distance, he could see the massive construction hangars where humanity's first starships were being built. Soon, those ships would carry Earth's message to the stars, whether the galaxy wanted to hear it or not. The Earth's orbital shipyards had never seen anything like the launch preparation now taking place. Admiral Taman Park stood on the observation deck of Luna Station, watching as 1,000 ships powered up their engines in perfect sequence. Each vessel glowed with the blue-white fire of fusion reactors running at maximum output. The sight was both beautiful and terrifying. Captain Wu Jin Lee floated beside him in the zero-gravity environment, checking status reports on his tablet. Final systems check complete, Admiral. All ships report ready for departure. Park nodded, but kept his eyes on the massive fleet spread out before them. The ships ranged from sleek destroyers to massive battlecruisers, each one representing years of secret construction and development. Humanity had built this fleet while the galaxy ignored them. Now it was time to make sure they would never be ignored again. Signal the fleet, Park commanded. Begin departure sequence. The first ships to move were the scout vessels, small and fast craft that would lead the formation. Their engines blazed to life, creating streams of plasma that stretched for kilometers. Behind each ship, one by one, the larger vessels followed, until the entire fleet was moving in a carefully choreographed dance of fire and metal. Engineer Kyung-ho Nam monitored the departure from the flagship's engineering deck. He had designed the propulsion systems that made this journey possible. Traditional fusion drives had been enhanced with breakthrough technology that allowed sustained faster-than-light travel. The engines could burn continuously for months without losing efficiency. All ships maintaining formation, Nam reported to the bridge. Engine efficiency at 97% across the fleet. Park took his position in the command chair of the flagship battlecruiser Defiance. The bridge was designed for both combat and diplomacy, with communication systems capable of translating hundreds of alien languages. If humanity was going to crash the galaxy's most important meeting, they would do it properly. Dr. Kim, what's our estimated arrival time? Park asked. Dr. Hyjin Kim looked up from her science station. 4 months, 2 weeks, and 3 days if we maintain current velocity. We'll arrive just as the Galactic Council enters its final session. The timing was crucial. Park wanted to make an entrance that would be impossible to ignore. 1,000 human ships appearing during the most important moment of the galaxy's biggest political gathering would certainly get their attention. Lieutenant Yunji Song worked at the communications station, monitoring galactic frequencies as they traveled. Admiral, I'm picking up increased chatter from the Vega system. The Galactic Council meeting seems to be going well. No major conflicts reported. That's about to change, Park said quietly. The journey through space gave the human fleet time to prepare for what would likely be a hostile reception. Ambassador So-Young Choi spent her days reviewing diplomatic protocols and preparing arguments for humanity's inclusion in galactic civilization. She had studied every piece of alien communication they had intercepted over the past 30 years. The key issue will be legitimacy, Choi explained during a senior staff meeting. The Galactic Council operates on ancient traditions and established procedures. Our uninvited arrival will violate every rule they have about proper diplomatic conduct. Captain Lee leaned forward in his chair. What if they simply refuse to acknowledge us? Then we make it impossible for them to ignore us, Choi replied. Our fleet will be the largest military force ever assembled in the Vega system. Even if they don't want to talk, they'll have to respond. The months of travel passed quickly as the fleet maintained its relentless pace toward Vega. Engineer Nam worked constantly to optimize their approach, timing their arrival to create the maximum visual impact. The 1,000 ships would drop out of faster-than-light travel in perfect formation, their engines creating a display of power that would be visible from every observation deck on the Nexus station. Dr. Kim used the travel time to analyze every scrap of intelligence about the alien species they would encounter. The Galactic Council included representatives from 47 different civilizations, each with their own culture, biology, and political priorities. The dominant faction appears to be something called the Hegemony of Zor, she reported. They control about 30% of known galactic territory and have significant influence over council decisions. What do we know about their military capabilities? Admiral Park asked. Their ships are large but appear to prioritize comfort over combat efficiency, Kim replied. Most galactic civilizations have been at peace for centuries. Their vessels are designed for long-range exploration and trade, not warfare. This intelligence proved crucial as the human fleet prepared for possible conflict. Earth ships had been designed with the assumption that first contact might be hostile. Every vessel carried advanced weapon systems and defensive technology that had been developed through decades of military research. As they entered the final week of their journey, the excitement aboard the human ships became palpable. Lieutenant Song worked around the clock to monitor alien communications, looking for any sign that their approach had been detected. Still nothing, she reported. Long-range sensors in the Vega system don't appear to be watching for incoming ships. They're not expecting anyone to arrive unannounced. Engineer Nam made final adjustments to the fleet's formation. When they dropped out of faster-than-light travel, the 1,000 ships would be arranged in a perfect sphere around the Nexus station. Their engines would all ignite simultaneously, creating a display of coordinated power that would announce humanity's arrival to the entire galaxy. 60 seconds to arrival, Nam announced from his engineering station. Admiral Park stood and straightened his uniform. After 30 years of silence, humanity was about to introduce itself to galactic civilization. A galaxy had chosen to ignore Earth's peaceful radio messages. Now they would have to deal with 1,000 fusion engines burning above their most important political gathering. All ships, this is Admiral Park, he announced over the fleet communication system. In 30 years, we have asked politely for recognition. We have followed their protocols and respected their procedures. We have waited patiently for acknowledgement that never came. Today, we stop asking for permission to exist. The countdown reached zero and space exploded with light as 1,000 human ships emerged from faster-than-light travel. Their engines blazed in perfect unison, turning the dark space around Nexus Station into a brilliant constellation of human determination. The galaxy's most exclusive meeting had just received some uninvited guests. The Nexus Station had never experienced anything like the sight now surrounding it. 1,000 human ships hung in perfect formation, their engines creating an artificial aurora that painted the station's hull in brilliant blue and white light. Inside the Great Council Chamber, 47 different alien species stared through the massive viewing ports in complete silence. Lieutenant Yunji Song sat at her communications station aboard the flagship, watching as her screens filled with incoming transmissions. Every alien vessel in the system was demanding to know who had dared interrupt the sacred Galactic Council meeting. Admiral, we're receiving over 300 separate communication requests, Song reported. They're broadcasting on every frequency we've ever detected. Admiral Taemin Park stood calmly on the bridge, watching the chaos their arrival had created. The timing had been perfect. The human fleet had emerged from faster-than-light travel just as the Council was voting on the most important trade agreements of the century. Put me through to the main Council chamber, Park ordered. All frequencies, maximum power. Song worked quickly to establish the connection. Within moments, Admiral Park's voice was broadcasting directly into the heart of galactic civilization. This is Admiral Taemin Park of the Human Defense Fleet, representing the planet Earth and the species known as humanity. We request immediate audience with the Galactic Council. The response was immediate and angry. A harsh voice crackled through the communication system, speaking in the trade language that Dr. Haijin Kim had learned to understand over the past months. Unknown vessels, you are in violation of sacred council space. Identify yourselves immediately, and withdraw from the system or face the consequences. Ambassador So-Young Choi stepped forward to take the communications. Microphone from Park. This was the moment she had spent 4 months preparing for. The galaxy was finally listening to humanity, and she intended to make sure they never forgot what they heard. I am Ambassador So-Young Choi, speaking for the human species of the Sol System. Third planet from the star you designate as Sol 1, we have been attempting to establish diplomatic contact with galactic civilization for 30 Earth years. Our transmissions have been ignored despite following your own first contact protocols. The alien voice responded with obvious confusion. There is no intelligent life in the Sol System. Our surveys indicate it contains only primitive organisms. Dr. Kim quickly pulled up the data she had decoded weeks earlier. The galactic database still listed Earth as uninhabited, despite clear evidence of human civilization. Your surveys are incorrect, Choi continued. Humanity has been broadcasting radio transmissions for over a century and faster-than-light communications for the past 15 years. We have detected your civilization and attempted contact using the mathematical protocols outlined in your own first contact procedures. Through the viewing ports, the human crew could see activity on the Nexus Station increasing dramatically. Alien vessels were moving into defensive positions while emergency lights flashed across the station's hull. The galaxy's most powerful leaders were clearly not prepared for uninvited guests. A new voice joined the communication channel, speaking with the authority of high rank. I am Hegemon Vex of the Zor Dominion, current chair of the Galactic Council. Your arrival violates every treaty and protocol governing this sacred meeting. You will withdraw immediately. Captain Woojin Lee moved to stand beside Ambassador Choi as a military officer. He understood the delicate balance between diplomacy and force. The human fleet had the firepower to destroy everything in the system, but their goal was inclusion, not conquest. Hegemon Vex, Choi responded. Humanity seeks only what has been granted to every other species represented in your council. We desire recognition as an intelligent civilization and the opportunity to participate in galactic affairs. The Galactic Council operates according to ancient traditions, Vex replied. New members are admitted only through proper channels and extensive evaluation processes. Your aggressive arrival demonstrates exactly why your species is unsuitable for membership. Park stepped forward again, his voice carrying the weight of 30 years of frustration. We followed your proper channels for 3 decades. We broadcast on your designated first contact frequencies. We transmitted mathematical proofs, star charts, and cultural information. We received no response because you chose to ignore us. The alien communications fell silent for several minutes. Through the viewing ports, the human officers could see frantic activity aboard the various alien vessels. The Council was clearly holding emergency discussions about how to handle this unprecedented situation. Dr. Kim monitored alien communication frequencies and was surprised by what she heard. Many of the alien species were as shocked as the humans to learn that Earth's transmissions had been ignored. Several council members were demanding explanations from their own leadership. Admiral, Kim reported quietly, I'm detecting significant disagreement among the council members. Not all of them knew about the decision to ignore Earth's communications. Finally, Hegemon Vex returned to the communication channel. The Galactic Council will grant you one representative the opportunity to present your case. However, your fleet must withdraw to the edge of the system immediately, Park smiled grimly. Our fleet will remain in position until humanity receives the same diplomatic recognition granted to every other council member. We did not travel 4 months across the galaxy to beg for scraps of attention. The standoff continued for hours as alien and human vessels faced each other across the void. The 1,000 human ships maintained perfect formation, their engines creating a constant display of coordinated power. No alien force in the system could match their numbers or their obvious technological sophistication. Engineer Kyung-ho Nam monitored the fleet's power systems, ensuring that every ship maintained optimal engine output. The visual display was crucial to their diplomatic strategy. The aliens needed to understand that humanity had not come as supplicants but as equals demanding recognition. Engineering reports all ships maintaining formation, Nam announced. Fusion efficiency holding at maximum output. As the hours passed, more alien species began independently contacting the human fleet. Many were curious about Earth's technology and culture. A few even expressed support for humanity's inclusion in the Council. Lieutenant Song worked frantically to manage the increasing communication traffic. Admiral were now receiving messages from individual council members. Several species are requesting private discussions with our diplomatic team. Park nodded with satisfaction. The human strategy was working. By refusing to be dismissed or intimidated, they had forced the galaxy to acknowledge their existence. The Council could no longer pretend that Earth did not exist. Maintain position, Park ordered. The galaxy ignored us for 30 years. They can spare a few hours to listen to what we have to say. High above the Nexus station, 1,000 human engines continued to burn, turning the darkness of space into a brilliant testament to humanity's refusal to remain invisible. The Zor Patrol fleet moved through space with the confidence of a species that had dominated galactic politics for over 2,000 years. Hegemon Vex had grown tired of the human fleet's refusal to withdraw from Council space. 50 Zor battleships now approached the human formation, their weapons powered and ready for combat. Captain Wu Jin Lee watched the approaching vessels from the bridge of the Defiance. The alien ships were impressive, nearly twice the size of human battlecruisers, but they moved with the sluggish grace of vessels designed for ceremony rather than combat. Alien fleet now within weapons range, reported the tactical officer. They're maintaining attack formation but haven't opened fire yet. Admiral Taman Park studied the display showing both fleets. The Zor had numerical superiority in terms of individual ship size, but their vessels appeared to prioritize living space over military efficiency. Human ships were smaller but packed with advanced weapons and defensive systems. Dr. Kim, What can you tell us about Zor military capabilities? Park asked. Dr. Hyjin Kim pulled up her analysis of the approaching ships. Their vessels are impressive, but outdated. The design pattern suggests they haven't upgraded their military technology in centuries. Most galactic civilizations have been at peace for so long that they've forgotten how to build effective warships. The lead Zor vessel opened communication channels, broadcasting directly to the human flagship. The voice of Fleet Commander Thek filled the bridge with arrogant authority. Human vessels, you are ordered to withdraw immediately. Your presence violates galactic law and threatens the stability of the Nexus station. Comply within 10 minutes or face the consequences. Park activated the communication system to respond. Fleet Commander Thek, humanity has no intention of withdrawing until we receive proper diplomatic recognition. Your laws have denied our existence for 30 years. We will not be dismissed again. Your species is unknown and unproven, Thek replied. The Galactic Council cannot recognize every primitive civilization that stumbles into space travel. Return to your home system and follow proper application procedures. Captain Lee stepped forward, his military training focused on the tactical situation developing around them. Admiral, the Zor ships are moving into attack positions. Their weapons are powered but not yet targeted on our vessels. Park nodded calmly. The human fleet had been designed for exactly this type of confrontation. Every ship carried advanced shielding technology and weapon systems that had been tested extensively during the journey to Vega. All human vessels, this is Admiral Park, maintain defensive positions but do not fire unless fired upon. We are here for diplomacy, not conquest. The tension in space grew thicker as both fleets maneuvered for advantage. Engineer Kyung-ho Nam monitored the human ship's power systems, ready to divert energy to shields or weapons as needed. Engineering reports ready for combat operations, Nam announced. All ships show optimal power distribution. Lieutenant Yoonji Song intercepted communications between the Zor vessels and reported increasing frustration among their commanders. The Zor fleet is confused by our defensive formations. They expected us to retreat when challenged. Minutes passed like hours as the two fleets faced each other across the void. The 1,000 human ships maintained perfect formation while the Zor battleships spread out in what they believed was an intimidating display of force. Finally, Commander Thek's patience ran out. A brilliant beam of energy lashed out from his flagship, striking the shields of the human destroyer Courage. The attack was meant as a warning shot, designed to demonstrate Zor power and convince the humans to retreat. Instead, it proved exactly how outdated galactic military technology had become. The human destroyer's shields absorbed the full power of the Zor weapon without even flickering. Captain Minho Park, the destroyer's commanding officer, reported calmly over the fleet communication system. No damage sustained. Enemy weapons appear to be less powerful than our defensive capabilities. The Zor fleet paused in obvious confusion. Their most advanced weapons had failed to even stress human defensive shields. Commander Thek ordered his entire fleet to open fire, convinced that concentrated firepower would overwhelm the smaller human vessels. 50 Zor battleships unleashed everything they had at the human formation. Energy beams, plasma torpedoes, and kinetic projectiles filled the space between the two fleets. It was the largest display of galactic military power in over a century. The human fleet absorbed the entire attack without losing a single ship. Incredible, Dr. Kim whispered as she watched the tactical display. Our shields are designed to handle fusion reactor outputs. Their weapons are too weak to penetrate our defensive systems. Park realized that the moment for restraint had passed. The Zor had fired first, and galactic civilization needed to understand that humanity would not be bullied. Captain Lee, you may return fire. Disable their weapons, but avoid destroying their vessels. We want them functional but helpless. The human response was swift and devastating. Advanced targeting systems identified weak points in warship designs with mathematical precision. Human weapons, designed for efficiency rather than spectacle, struck with surgical accuracy. Within minutes, Half the Zor fleet was drifting powerless through space. Their weapon systems had been cleanly disabled, their engines offline, but their life support remained functional. It was a demonstration of technological superiority that left no room for misunderstanding. Commander Thek's flagship found itself completely surrounded by human vessels, its weapons destroyed and engines dead. The proud Zor commander was forced to broadcast a request for assistance. All Zor vessels, this is Thek, request immediate reinforcement. The human ships possess military technology far superior to our own. The message was intercepted not just by other Zor ships, but by every alien vessel in the system. The galaxy's most powerful military force had been effortlessly defeated by a species they had dismissed as primitive. Captain Lee coordinated the rescue operations as human ships moved to provide assistance to damaged Zor vessels. All human ships render aid to disabled enemy vessels. We are not conquerors. Dr. Kim monitored alien communication channels and discovered something remarkable happening throughout the system. The other alien species were analyzing the brief combat and reaching startling conclusions about human technology. Admiral, we're receiving communication requests from dozens of alien species, she reported. They want to know how our defensive and weapon systems work. Some are offering to vote for our council membership in exchange for technology sharing agreements. Park smiled as he watched human ships rescuing Zor survivors. The galaxy had finally seen what humanity was capable of when pushed to its limits. More importantly, they had seen that human strength was tempered with mercy. Ambassador Choi, I believe the Galactic Council is ready to hear our formal petition now. The 1,000 human engines continued to burn above the Nexus station, but now they illuminated a very different political situation. Humanity had proven itself capable of both devastating military action and gracious restraint. The galaxy could no longer afford to ignore Earth's request for recognition. The Great Council Chamber of Nexus Station had been designed to accommodate 47 different alien species, but it had never hosted a presentation like the one humanity was about to deliver. Ambassador So-Young Choi stood at the center of the circular chamber, surrounded by delegates whose appearances ranged from crystalline beings that chimed when they moved to massive creatures that communicated through color changes in their skin. Admiral Taemin Park sat in the newly provided human delegation section, watching as Dr. Haijin Kim prepared her presentation materials. After the decisive military encounter with the Zor fleet, the Galactic Council had finally agreed to hear Earth's formal petition for membership. Hegemon Vex of the Zor called the session to order, though his voice lacked the authority it had carried before his fleet's defeat. The Council recognizes the human delegation. You may present your case for galactic membership. Ambassador Choi activated the holographic display system, filling the chamber's center with a three-dimensional map of local galactic space. Honored delegates, humanity comes before you not as beggars seeking charity, but as equals offering mutual benefit. The first image showed Earth's location relative to the known territories of council member species. Several delegates leaned forward in surprise as they realized how close human space was to their own systems. For 30 years, humanity has been monitoring galactic communications and analyzing the challenges facing our shared galaxy. We have identified problems that this council has either overlooked or chosen to ignore. Dr. Kim remotely activated the presentation from her position in the human delegation area. The display shifted to show a detailed map of the galaxy's outer rim, where strange dark patches marked areas of missing stars. The void swarms, Choi announced, her words causing immediate agitation among the alien delegates. Massive collections of unknown entities consuming entire star systems on the galaxy's edge. Your own deep space monitoring stations have detected them, but no action has been taken. A delegate from the Helix Confederation, a species of tall, blue-skinned humanoids, stood to address the chamber. The outer rim phenomena have been deemed beyond our current capabilities to address. The distance involved makes any military response impractical. Troy smiled and gestured to the display. Humanity disagrees. Our propulsion technology allows sustained faster-than-light travel at speeds 50% greater than current galactic standards. We can reach the outer rim in 3 months instead of 8. The chamber erupted in surprised conversations as delegates realized the implications. Human ships could travel faster and farther than anything in the galactic fleet. Captain Wu Jinli stood to address the military aspects of the presentation. Our analysis indicates that the void swarms are not a natural phenomenon. They show patterns of organized behavior and strategic targeting of systems with high metal content. This suggests intelligence behind their actions. The display shifted, again to show detailed scans of systems that had been consumed by the swarms. The data was far more comprehensive than anything the Galactic Council possessed. "How did you obtain such detailed information about the Outer Rim?" asked a delegate. From the Christek Assembly, its voice creating harmonic tones throughout the chamber, Dr. Kim stood to answer. Humanity has been operating deep space monitoring stations throughout the galaxy for 15 years. While you ignored our communications, we were studying the threats you chose not to address. The revelation that humans had been operating throughout galactic space without detection sent shockwaves through the assembly. Several security-focused species demanded immediate explanations. Your hidden presence represents a violation of territorial sovereignty, accused the Zor delegates, still bitter from their fleet's recent defeat. Admiral Park rose to respond. Our monitoring stations were placed in unclaimed systems specifically to avoid territorial violations. We followed your own laws more carefully than you realized. Ambassador Choi activated the next section of their presentation, showing detailed intelligence about pirate fleets operating in supposedly secure trade routes. The information included ship specifications, base locations, and operational patterns that the Council's own security forces had failed to detect. The Crimson Fleet has been operating in the Arcturus sector for 2 years, Choi explained. They have captured over 300 merchant vessels and killed thousands of civilians. Your patrol ships have been avoiding the sector because they lack the firepower to engage effectively. Lieutenant Yunji Song transmitted additional data from the human fleet, showing real-time locations of 17 different pirate organizations. The Council delegates stared in amazement at the comprehensive intelligence network humanity had developed. We also offer solutions, Choi continued. Human medical technology has developed treatments for the genetic plague affecting the Centauri Republic. Our terraforming techniques could restore the damaged worlds of the Pollux system. We have agricultural innovations that could end the food shortages in the outer colonies. Dr. Kim activated a series of displays showing human technological achievements. Advanced fusion reactors that could power entire planets. Medical scanners capable of detecting diseases at the cellular level. Atmospheric processes that could transform barren worlds into garden paradises. The chamber fell silent as delegates absorbed the implications. Humanity possessed solutions to problems that had plagued galactic civilization for decades. An elderly delegate from the Wisdom Keepers, a species known for their philosophical approach to galactic issues, stood slowly to address the assembly. 4 centuries, this council has maintained stability through careful deliberation and gradual change. We have avoided risks and preserved the status quo. These humans offer rapid solutions to complex problems. How do we know their aggressive approach will not cause more harm than good? Captain Lee stepped forward to answer. Because we have been preparing for these challenges while you debated them. Humanity learned early in our development that threats ignored do not disappear. They grow stronger until they become impossible to avoid. Ambassador Choi activated the final section of their presentation, showing a comprehensive plan for addressing every major crisis facing the galaxy: military operations against the void swarms, anti-piracy patrols using human speed advantages, medical assistance for plague-affected worlds, resource sharing agreements to end colonial famines. The choice before this council is simple, Choi announced. You can continue following the same policies that have allowed these crises to develop, or you can work with humanity to solve them before they become unmanageable. Hegemon Vex stood reluctantly, clearly struggling with the decision. Zor had dominated galactic politics for millennia, but their recent military defeat had shown the limits of their power. The Council will recess to consider the human proposal, he announced. We will reconvene in 6 hours to vote on the question of human membership. As the delegates filed out to discuss the presentation, Admiral Park approached Ambassador Choi with a satisfied expression. Well presented, Ambassador. I think we've given them plenty to think about. Choi nodded, watching the alien delegates engage in heated discussions as they left the chamber. The question now is whether they're willing to change thousands of years of tradition to work with us. Through the massive viewing ports, the 1,000 human ships continued their vigil, their engines casting light across the station like a promise of the changes to come. The Galactic Council chamber buzzed with nervous energy as delegates returned for the final vote. 6 hours of private discussions had revealed deep divisions among the 47 member species. Some embraced humanity's technological solutions, while others feared the changes that human membership would bring to their ancient institution. Ambassador So-Young Choi sat calmly in the human delegation area, watching as alien representatives took their positions. Admiral Taemin Park studied the faces and body language of delegates whose support remained uncertain. The vote would be close. Hegemon Vex called the session to order, his voice carrying the weight of a decision that would reshape galactic civilization. The Council will now vote on the question of human membership. Each member species may speak briefly before casting their vote. The first to stand was Delegate Kryn of the Helix Confederation. Her blue skin flickered with patterns that Dr. Hyjin Kim had learned to recognize as signs of approval. The Helix Confederation votes to accept human membership. Their technology offers solutions to problems we have struggled with for decades. We can no longer afford to ignore such capabilities. A rumble of agreement passed through several sections of the chamber, but the Zor delegation remained visibly opposed. Their recent military defeat had not improved their opinion of humanity's aggressive approach to galactic politics. The debate continued for hours as each species presented their position. The agricultural world supported human membership because of offered terraforming technology. The trade guilds worried about human economic competition. The military-focused species were impressed by human combat capabilities but concerned about upset power balances. Captain Wu Jin Lee monitored communication from the human fleet, where engineer Kyung Ho Nam was coordinating with alien technical teams eager to study human propulsion systems. Several species had already begun informal technology sharing discussions. Admiral, we're receiving requests from 12 different species for immediate technical consultations, Lee reported quietly. They want to begin cooperation before the vote is even finalized. Park nodded with satisfaction. The practical benefits of human membership were becoming impossible for the Council to ignore. As the debate wound down, an unexpected voice requested permission to speak. Elder Thane of the Wisdom Keepers stood slowly, his ancient frame supporting the weight of centuries of galactic history. For 2,000 years, this council has maintained peace through caution and tradition. We have avoided risks and preserved stability. But stability without growth becomes stagnation, and stagnation leads to death. The chamber fell silent as the respected elder continued his address. These humans have shown us that our galaxy faces threats we have ignored and challenges we have avoided. They offer not conquest but partnership, not domination but cooperation. The Wisdom Keepers vote to accept human membership. The tide of opinion shifted dramatically as the most conservative species in the galaxy endorsed human inclusion. Several undecided delegates nodded in approval, while even some Zor representatives began to reconsider their opposition. The final vote was closer than humanity had hoped but decisive enough to ensure legitimacy. 31 species voted for human membership, 12 voted against, and 4 abstained. The Galactic Council had officially recognized Earth as an equal partner in galactic civilization. Hegemon Vex announced the results with obvious reluctance, but his words carried the authority of galactic law. By majority vote, the species known as humanity is granted full membership in the Galactic Council, with all rights and responsibilities thereof. The chamber erupted in mixed reactions as delegates cheered, argued, or sat in stunned silence. Ambassador Choi stood to address the assembly, her voice carrying across the chaos. Humanity accepts membership in the Galactic Council with gratitude and determination. We pledge to work with all member species to address the challenges facing our shared galaxy. But Admiral Park was not finished. He stood and activated his personal communication device, broadcasting to both the Council chamber and the human fleet. The age of passive governance is over. Humanity brings not just technology and military strength, but a commitment to action. We will no longer allow important problems to be debated into irrelevance while they grow beyond solution. Within hours, the human fleet began dispersing throughout the galaxy according to plans developed during their journey to Vega. Battle groups departed for the Outer Rim to investigate the void swarms. Fast attack squadrons moved to hunt down pirate fleets. Medical ships headed for plague-stricken worlds. Dr. Kim established the first human embassy station in orbit around Nexus, equipped with medical facilities and research laboratories that immediately began accepting patients and students from dozens of alien species. Her terraforming teams departed for the damaged worlds of the Pollux system, carrying atmospheric processors that would restore those planets within a year. Captain Lee found himself commanding a joint task force of human and alien ships, the first truly integrated galactic military operation in centuries. The cooperation was initially awkward, but shared challenges quickly forged working relationships between previously isolated species. Engineer, NAM's propulsion technology spread rapidly through the galactic fleet, allowing rapid response to emergencies that had previously taken months to address. Trade routes became safer as patrols could cover larger areas more quickly. 3 months after the vote, Ambassador Choi addressed the Galactic Council from humanity's new permanent embassy station. The orbital facility had become a hub of activity, with alien scientists working alongside human researchers to solve problems that had seemed impossible just months earlier. "The galaxy has changed," Choi announced to the assembled delegates. "Trade routes are safer, plague outbreaks are being controlled, and we have established first contact with the void swarms. They are indeed intelligent, and they are willing to negotiate." The revelation that humanity had already begun diplomatic contact with the galaxy's greatest threat sent shockwaves through the Council. What had seemed like an unstoppable force of destruction was apparently just another alien species that had been misunderstood. Admiral Park's voice joined the transmission from the Outer Rim, where he commanded the joint task force investigating the swarm phenomenon. "The entities we called void swarms are actually refugees from a dying galaxy. They consume metal-rich systems to build generation ships for their population. We are currently negotiating settlement rights in uninhabited systems." The success of human initiatives had transformed galactic politics within months. Species that had initially opposed human membership were now requesting partnership agreements. The Zor themselves had begun adopting human military technologies and tactical approaches, but perhaps the most significant change was philosophical. The galaxy's leaders were no longer content to simply maintain the status quo. Inspired by human examples, they began actively seeking solutions to problems they had previously considered unsolvable. Lieutenant Yoonji Song monitored galactic communications from the embassy station, noting the dramatic increase in interspecies cooperation and joint projects. The galaxy that had once ignored Earth's attempts at contact was now eager to work with humanity on dozens of different initiatives. "Admiral," she reported during a conference call with the scattered human fleet, "we're receiving over 1,000 requests per day for human assistance, consultation, or partnership. Every major species wants to work with us." Park smiled as he watched human and alien ships working together to establish the first refugee settlements for the former void swarms. The galaxy had finally learned an important lesson about the cost of ignoring emerging challenges. 30 years ago, we asked politely for recognition, he said. We followed their protocols and waited patiently for acknowledgement. Today, we have something better than recognition. We have partnership. Outside the embassy station, the engine signatures of human ships created new constellations visible from dozens of worlds. Each point of light represented a promise kept, a problem solved, or a partnership forged. The galaxy's newest members had proven that sometimes the most dangerous species could also be its most necessary allies. The 1,000 engines that had announced humanity's arrival continued to burn throughout the galaxy, no longer as a threat or a demand for attention, but as a symbol of the new age they had helped create.